Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Horsepower for an Hour's Clash of the Classics. Today is extra special. We got a 1967 Corvette. This thing is as fine as they come. 1967, many of you will already know, was the last year for the second generation and arguably the best. All the refinements were done from 63 on. 1968 was the beginning of the third generation. The car originally came with a 327 CID or 327 cubic inch displacement motor that was kicking out right at about 350 horsepower. This car, which happens to belong to Kelly Preston, has got the new 1991 TPI or two-port injection motor out of a 1991 Corvette. In fact, the entire powertrain is 1991 Vet and Spence. This thing, as you know already, this thing runs really good. We're going to take it around the streets here of Ventura, Southern California. Going to have a good time.
Yes, we certainly will, and I will tell you, looks alone, this is the sweetest ride we've been in quite some time, Donnie. This is the car that you want to be seen in as you cruise the coast in California.
This thing's pushing out right at about 345 horsepower with the MD8 or the 700R4 transmission, and it runs fantastic. We're going to, in fact, how do you like that acceleration? Just stepping off the gas. Here we go. That felt pretty good. This car is put together right, the suspension is done right, everything is done correct in it. I really like this car. This is, as you said, Spence, this may be one of the finest cars we've had on our show, at least over the last year or so.
It's interesting how the styling on this car holds throughout the years. You wonder, as they went through the years and the models, why would they change the looks of this? Because, I mean, this car is so good looking. It's so sweet. You wonder when they're on something like this why they would switch body styles.
Yeah, because the second generation, at least in my opinion, has always been the best generation. The new one, the 2015, or I guess it came out in 2014, that's a good looking model as well. The brand new Vet, that is a cool car. But this second generation just got so unique. All the body lines are so sharp on it. It looks, of course, you can recognize this car from 100 feet or 100 miles. With this car, this guy's done a great job of flaring the fenders. As you can see in the video, he's done the body work on it alone has been fantastic. The suspension on it, as I said earlier, very well done. I like the way the engine placement, and interestingly enough, the weight distribution across the entire body is surprisingly even. It's done a really good job.
And the other thing that's interesting about a vehicle like this, you know, a little bit of engine noise, but the comfort, sitting in it, really comfortable. The seats are great. You can take this car for a long, long way. This isn't just a roundabout, then get out and try to regain your hearing. This car drives very, very comfortably. A beautiful look, a beautiful feel. You just gotta love this Corvette. This is how driving on a Sunday should be.
I fully agree. We get a chance to look at quite a few cars on our show. For those of you who are familiar with our Horsepower for an Hour broadcast, you know that each week we have a Clash of the Classics where Spence and I and Jim Naylor, we pit two cars against one another, and we have a good time with that. And then on the weekends, we get a chance to look at some of the cars from all over the country. This car, the owner of this vehicle, we met at one of the largest Southern California shows down in the city of Ventura, downtown Ventura, and this guy, he has done a fantastic job with this ride, gracious enough to allow us to showcase it and feature it in our Clash of the Classics videos. I'm going to have a good time with this, man.
I had no doubt. And I asked him, you know, how often do you get offers? And he says, just about every time I drive it or bring it to a show. This is definitely where the looks speak for the vehicle. You wonder if he finally breaks down and gives it up, which I don't think he plans on doing. What would the price tag be on a car like this?
Well, I can answer that question. Originally in 1967, this car sold for $4,127.
$4,100 and change.
$4,100 and change.
Damn.
Today, if you want this car, you're going to start the bidding at $140,000.
Better than the stock market.
He has turned, yes, absolutely. He has turned down offers for as much as $160,000. Can't blame him. I would turn them down as well. The ultimate Corvette engine for 1967 was coated L88, even wilder than the L89, and it was as close to pure racing engine as Chevy had ever offered in the regular production. Besides the lightweight heads, the bigger ports, it came with an even hotter camshaft, stratospheric 12.5-to-1 compression, an aluminum radiator, small diameter flywheel, and a single huge Holley 4-barrel carburetor. Although the factory advertised L88 rating was 430 horsepower, the true rating was said to be about 560 horsepower. The very high compression ratio required 103 octane racing fuel. It was only available at a very select few service stations back in those days. The car was lightweight at 3,300 pounds, and the weight distribution, believe it or not, was surprisingly well placed. Regardless of which generation Corvette you prefer, I think most folks would agree the second gen Stingray is an automotive icon.